Hello and welcome to our Vitality Chat. Today I have the honor of interviewing Dr. Nancy Watson, who not only is my wife of 45 years as of today, but is a force to be reckoned with both in chiropractic and in real life. So, Dr. Watson, can you talk a little bit about your background, introduce yourself, who you are, and then maybe talk a little bit about how you got into chiropractic and how you got to where you are?
Thank you. Thank you. It's really fun to be interviewing you by today on our anniversary. So yes, this is our 45th anniversary. I would like to talk a little bit about who I am. I'm a chiropractor, primarily. I've been a chiropractor for 45 years. I've also been many other things. So if you had asked me at different times in my life, I've worn many different hats. But the lens that I've looked through my life is the chiropractic philosophy, is the salutogenic philosophy. So I have been a mother. I have been a homeschool teacher. I have run a retail store. I've also been a chiropractor and adjusted. I've also run another office. And now I am the co-founder and the president of the Peak Potential Institute, which is a program that I started with you to bring our educational material to the chiropractic profession. So I've worn many, many hats. But what's stayed consistently through all those hats is the chiropractic philosophy and the lens through which I have chose to look through life and bring my expertise into all that I do through that lens.
That's great. Can you talk a little bit about how you actually got into chiropractic? What motivated you either to understand the chiropractic principles and then also eventually how that moved you forward into actually choosing to be a chiropractor for your life?
Well, I didn't grow up in a chiropractic household. I grew up in the 50s. I would say that it was a pretty normal upbringing. You saw the doctor once a year. But I did have like perfect attendance at school, so I was relatively healthy. But everything was, wasn't the outside in philosophy that eventually really attracted me to chiropractic. My father did have a back injury and would see a chiropractor often, probably weekly. And I knew that chiropractor, and he was the kind of practice that you go in, you didn't have to have appointments, you paid a nominal fee, and you get adjusted. So I did get adjusted as a child, probably the first time, maybe before the age of 10. I didn't have the language to understand what I felt, but I knew I felt different. I knew I liked the adjustment. I knew I could think clearer. That's what I remember thinking. But no one gave me any education to what was happening. I just knew I felt better. I didn't go often, but I had that experience. As I got older, I had pieces of my life that I see now were planted at a young age that stayed with me. One was that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to run my own business. That's something that I felt from the age of 11. So when I was looking to go to college, I thought about going into entrepreneurship. I started off majoring in business. Shortly after my first semester, I knew that wasn't what I wanted. But when I look back, I know the truth that was in it, that I wanted to run my own business, but I didn't want to study business. Wasn't interested in business law or accounting or economics. So I was looking, I was searching, as often a lot of young people are, and I circled back to wanting to what was the other things I wanted. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to help the human experience. So I found myself studying psychology and sociology and finding my way through that. And during that time period, I did get onto chiropractic care. But again, no one gave me the language to understand what I was feeling. I just felt better when I was getting adjusted. So as I was, finishing up my uh, degree in psychology, I started exploring all kinds of other kinds of natural health things that was certainly, the different kinds of East-West philosophy that came to the United States during that time period. A lot of yoga philosophy came into the United States around the end of the 60s, beginning of the 70s, and that's when I was coming of age. And those are things that I was exposed to, and I followed, and it changed my thinking about life. I started seeing life as also not just about, more of an inside job, so more than just an external experience. And then what really, really changed me was when I was doing an internship in psychology. I was heading towards my master's degree, and I was working on biofeedback. And I was working with this particular forensic patient who was having trouble with anger management. And I realized as I was sitting there going, I know that the piece of this that I want is to make a difference. I want to make a difference in this man's life. I want to make a difference in the human experience. But this felt like an awfully long road to go. And I knew that I wanted to find something else that would be more satisfying. And at that time, I ran across two of the great philosophers of that time period was Reggie Gold and Joe Felicia. I actually heard them speak, and it just changed me. It changed me. They gave the words to finally the experience that I had all along, that no one had given me any words to it. So I think that's why I'm really big on education, and all of our seminars and all of our online programs, we talk about educating, because people will have an internal experience, and if we don't give them the language to it to let them know what they're feeling or what's happening, then they won't know. And they won't know what makes chiropractic and the chiropractic adjustment different than the other things. So that changed the course of my life. It was 1976. I went to Sherman Lyceum. Sherman, I think, had just started maybe a year or a year and a half before, and there were some of the great philosophical chiropractors were there. They were on purpose. They were so excited, and I said, "That's it. This is what I'm going to do." I didn't have the sciences, so I had to go back. I had to, take my chemistry and my biology and all the things that I was missing, and I joined the September 1978 class of Sherman College. That is where I met you, and that journey was pretty clear from then on. It wasn't something that I felt like all the pieces of wanting to be an entrepreneur, of wanting to make a difference in the human experience, and also to have the language to understand what had happened to me when I got adjusted, when my nervous system was connected, when my brain and was working better. So I was thrilled. It just clicked for me. So that was my beginning of my journey to chiropractic. And what I really want to say about that is, like, I'm around a lot of young people, and whether they're thinking about being a chiropractor or not, like, look at the elements of what's your inner experience is directing to you, and find the best way of expressing that. And for me, it was through chiropractic.
You know, what I hear when I hear you talking, I always heard you talking even when I first met you, is the passion. And you're right. I've watched you be a mother. I've watched you be an entrepreneur, run a business, run a tea shop, run a nonprofit, run homeschool our children, be a chiropractor, run my office. I've seen you do all these things. And the thing that always sticks out for me is your passion. Your passion. I mean, you have an incredible capacity to work, and not many people have that kind of capacity. So what I'd like for you to try and do, if you can kind of bottle that in a way, and talk a little bit to the individuals who are aspiring to excel as chiropractors, who may be having struggles or may not, but what advice would you offer them based on your journey and your personal experiences to help them move through, to help them grow, and to help them get through those times that we all have that are difficult for some of us?
Well, I think the number one thing is to be true to yourself. So whoever I'm speaking to, and I'm often speaking to people at our seminars, is I try to tune into what is their truth for themselves. I mean, oftentimes people are so out of directed. We get so influenced by things on the outside, and maybe, we see looks like someone else is being more successful, or maybe this coaching program is great, or this technique is great. And what I really find is that oftentimes we know what we need. We just have to find the right avenue for it. So what I would encourage people to do is to know themselves, is to listen to what's inside themselves, and to be truthful, and not be swayed by whatever is out there that's telling you that you need that. So for example, if you're just starting out, for me, what was the most important thing was that I had a technique. That was so important to me. And when we were in chiropractic school, Marty and I focused on that. I mean, we literally had an adjusting table that we made. We put it into our home, and we palpated anybody that would let us palpate their spine. It was very, very important to me. And I know that I was maybe missing some communication skills. I certainly was missing some business skills, but I knew that if I had something that would help people, then I could actually be true to myself and sell that. I know that I couldn't sell something that I didn't have. So if you're struggling out there and you're thinking about, what, I am not successful in practice, or I have so much debt, or whatever it is, like, think to yourself, what do I need? Do I need better forms? Do I need some social marketing? Do I need a technique? Do I need an assistant? I don't know what you need. And what I like to do is tune in to you, to help you really see and mirror to you that what you need is what you need. It's not what someone else tells you. And I really, really encourage young people. And I know this younger generation, or the millennials that we often work with, talk about FOMO. I do not have FOMO. I don't have that experience of it. I don't ever feel like I'm being left out, because I feel like if I'm living what I'm meant to do, then there's nothing else that matters. So I really would like to give that as an experience to younger people, like, to really tune into yourself, to be true to yourself, and then let the people. There are so many wonderful people in our profession who have amazing skills on all different, like, communication skills, speaking skills, workshop skills, whatever it is that you need. But I would first say, for me, I could never sell something that I couldn't do. If I couldn't perform the adjustment, I couldn't pretend that I could perform it. So that was my core value, and then I found the other things I needed. I found, we figured it out with trial and errors, but I never had someone lay on a table where I felt like oh, I'm cheating them or I'm lying to them. I felt like I had something to offer them.
I think that's really important. I think that this FOMO thing, especially with social media, is brutal. And
Mhm.
because people always put, it's funny because you and I just were at the ICPA convention, and a couple of people came up to us, when we first got there, and said, "Oh, it's great to see you." Or some people just the first time met us, "You guys are always so happy." And you and I looked at each other like, "Yeah, we're always so happy," because that's what we put out on social media. We don't put out the fights, the struggles. That's what people put out. And social media creates this false FOMO that everybody else is doing great, has and the truth of the matter is it's a 2% rule. 2% of the people, are making it to that level. But regardless of that fact, let's get back to you a little bit. You have a very unique experience in the chiropractic profession is that you were a practitioner for over 15 years. And now you're also running an office. So you have that CA position, you have the office manager position, and you actually have the chiropractor. So on a personal note, can you talk a little bit about what aspects of that work you find most fulfilling? And I would like you to also talk a little bit, excuse me, about the CA role because as a chiropractor, never really understanding how difficult it can be sometimes at the front desk. And I know people have other situations where their wives are running the front desk or other CAs. So talk a little bit about the chiropractic part, but also talk about the office part. What makes that fulfilling? What makes that special for you? What keeps you moving? Because you've been doing that now for 22 years. So please go, kind
Right.
of personal note, please talk about that.
Right. Well, I think the journey is the same. It just the actions are different. So for me, having to retire from actually adjusting was a tough decision, but it was something that I had to do. But my desire, again, this is why the chiropractic lens is what I look through for everything. So for me, the healing process is the intention behind everything. So being a CA or being the person that greets someone that comes into your office, or I actually have a different lens to look through. And because you're like the technician, your job is to read their nervous system, adjust them, and correct the subluxation. It's a very precise precise profession, and my job is to hold the space for that to happen the best way. So I see it. I saw my role, or I still see my role as facilitating that, and that's by being present. And I think one of my strengths is, which is really what suits a job like a CA or an office manager, is that each individual that comes in, I see them as that. Just like you see them in the room, you read their nervous system. Not everyone gets the same adjustment. Actually, nobody gets the same adjustments. They might get the same analysis, but they don't get the same adjustment. And that's how I see the role of greeting somebody. I'm part of that healing process. That's how I hold the space for that. And because of that, I often find out different things about people. I often find out, more personal things of struggles that people have. And I think it's so very important what you said before about the illusion that someone's life is always happy. It's not that we're always happy. We all of us will have to reach these same milestones. We talk about milestones in that first 6 years of life, but there are milestones throughout life. So for me, having to actually stop adjusting was a tough decision, but I had to roll with it. And it's no different. I mean, I think as a woman, we do face different decisions, especially if we have children and all of that, and how we adapt our professional life to our personal life. That's a dance that I think I have done because I've stayed present. I've stayed true to what I value and had that chiropractic lens. So that healing of the nervous system and meeting people where they're at, that is what an office manager, a good office manager does. It's an extremely fulfilling part of being part of the dance, because you're there to help them, create that safe space to start that journey where they can accept the adjustment, where they can feel the transformation that happens when their nervous system is connected. And yeah, so that's a very important piece. To me, it's a very fulfilling position.
I think that what's really important, especially as chiropractors, we often forget what's happening at the front desk, what's happening in the office. And I think you said something which to me really rings true. It's holding that space.
Mhm.
The adjustment starts from the minute they walk into your office.
True.
From the minute that door opens and they walk in, that's when the adjustment, when the process starts. And I think we as chiropractors who don't go out to the front desk forget about it. And I think also as CAs we forget about it because you have the people yell at you with the phone or miss their appointments. And we have all those frustrating facts, just like life. We have all those frustrating facts. But holding that big picture again, knowing that you're holding a space, so you're part of that healing, I think is really important. I think that's great. And I think that's what you were a master at. I always used to say to patients, you'd be playing with little kids or you'd be laughing and they go, oh, she's always so happy. I'm like, you want to come home with us? But also your ability, and I think that's the other thing, to meet, that's what I was always amazed. So when I go into a room and I make an adjustment, I try to meet that person where they are. I try to match what their nervous system needs when I make my adjustments. And what you do, which I think is amazing, is at the front desk, you do the same thing. You match where that person is. We need to, people come in, they're struggling maybe, they're having issues. These days, children are very challenged, they're dysregulated. To be able to meet them at that level of dysregulation and move them slightly forward to shift them starts at that front desk, starts with your ability to do that. And then we in the rooms can also do that. So creating, I hate to say safe space because these days safe space,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
but,
understand. But I
but
think the exact same thing happens with our role that we do with our peak potential in our seminars. So
mhm,
the role that I may not be front facing, I might not be in the room teaching techniques, I
mhm,
might not be there, but I'm holding the space, and it's the same thing. Like I feel the same way in that space. So we have
yep,
people that come to see us that are students. We have some people that study with us, have been in practice as long as we have. We love to see those old timers that come in, they kind of go, I just want a little refresher, or I want to try something new. It's inspiring
it
to
is.
have people still be inspired to learn. But I will say that the same thing happens for me. Like when I get feedback about the seminar, or maybe we gave too much information, or maybe we talked too fast, or whatever it is, it's like, well, my goal is to move them in their life. So if I'm watching a new practitioner that doesn't have an exam yet, then my goal is to have them learn
Mhm,
the indicators. If I'm working with somebody who's maybe has a great communications to get people into their practice, but they don't know how to keep them in their practice, that's going to be my goal. So
mhm,
my goal is the same. It's through the same lens. It's to meet people where they're at, to move them in the direction that has the least resistance for them, that will bring them the greatest return. So it's the same thing.
mhm.
I'm doing the exact same thing in our other work, which is in our teaching in our
Sure.
seminars. So that's an important part of my goal in life, is to meet people where they're at and move them that much in the direction of that, but is their path. And I
So,
think they only can do that is by knowing themselves. So
sure.
I'm really, really big on that. I'm really, really big on, don't
Seems
let
to be a big
somebody.
point of yours, knowing yourself, yes.
hmm It is. Well, it's because it's satisfying. Like it's
Mhm,
a very satisfying thing to be able to walk through life. Like for me, what I have internally is as I'm walking, I have the lights inside of me that direct me. Is it a green light? Is it a red light? Is it a yellow light? And that's how I actually see the world. I'm a very visual person. So for me, like being married to someone as brilliant as you, with the level of skill that you have, I don't know anyone in the profession that matches that. It was a very easy thing for me to create the avenue to deliver that. And for me, it's is to find to listen to the profession, to see what's lacking in the profession, to see how I can elevate that. And the tool that I have is your brilliant mind and your amazing technical ability.
No, thank you. I
Mm.
appreciate that. So before we end this, can you maybe share some memorable moment or experience within your career, any part of your career that stays with you or that has stayed with you and continue to motivate you, or even certain things that allow you to keep moving forward. So can you share something like that? Something come up for
Yeah,
you?
I would definitely. I mean, it's just something that just actually happened recently. I have a lot of things that over the years. I mean, you can't be our age and have done as much as we have without having many memorable moments that kept us in the game, that kept us motivated. And it's an inside job. It has to be an inside job to be able to stay in it this long on the capacity that we still do at the level of work that we still produce. But I think something recently happened. It was a big decision for us to take some time off. We've never taken as much time off as we're taking off this summer. And as we were saying goodbye to people, and some of the people, it's very emotional. Some people we have taken care of for 40 years. Some people have taken care of 4 generations of their family. We have walked through life with them. I mean, literally, we have had the highs and the lows and everything in between. And you really felt the intensity of this experience. And there was a relatively new patient in the waiting room. It was actually a father of a baby that was bringing the baby in, and he was just watching this dance of people saying goodbye. Some people brought us flowers, some people brought us gifts, some people cried. Whatever that experience is, or when you have to let go and you're going through a transition in life. And the man walked up to me, and it was just, I could get emotional thinking about it. It was just this poignant moment. He looked and he goes, "Well, I'm only just beginning here, but what I'm witnessing is a life well lived." And I think that's the measure of what I want to leave you with. Like if you're 30 and you're facing debt and all the confusion, or if you're 40 and maybe your parents are starting to fail, or whatever it is, the transition that you're living through, is that you live your life the best that you can. And you can only do that by being true to yourself. So that's kind of what I want to leave with. It was like that moment when a stranger, a virtual stranger, looked at the dance of our life that we have committed our life to and noticed how well we had done it. So that's something that if I feel that way at the end of my day, if I live my day well, end of a week, end of a year. I mean, Marty and I are very big on setting goals. We set goals for ourselves. Do we measure this day? Do we measure this life? And I think that's something that I would really encourage everybody as you're building your life and you're building the foundations. Build your foundations with bricks that are solid, with friends that are true, and your connections that are real. And at the end, as you start moving through all these milestones, that you can actually say, this was a life well lived. So I really, really enjoyed spending part of our anniversary with doing this today. Something I wanted to do. So thank you for this. And thank you for letting me tell my chiropractic story.
Thank you for sharing so deep from within you, and I know your level of integrity. I know you have a huge bullshit meter both for yourself and for other people. So I love what you shared, and please, if you want to contact Nancy, check out her new website. What is your new website? Which is amazing.
Yeah, what is it? DrNancyWatson.com.
It
It's
is
kind of like
incredible.
my
That's from
storytelling journey.
It
Yes.
is. It's her life journey, and when you see it, I think you'll be blown away. So please check that out. Of course, if you have any questions concerning chiropractic or peak potential, you can go to drdrmartinrosen.com and check us out there. But check out her website. You'll be amazed at drnancywatson.com. It is really cool. And thanks again for spending this time, and thanks for everything that you've done over the years. And kind of thanks for staying with this crazy person on the other end. I appreciate it. So take care, and we'll figure out dinner. Love you. Bye.